Hey
All
everyone,
right, Zach.
welcome to another episode of Bust Up Boys. I'm Zach.
And I'm Zahran. Sorry for cutting you off.
It's all good, man. We're kicking it off with White Lotus reactions. The finale just dropped a couple days ago. Zron, what's your takes? What were your first reactions?
I enjoyed it for what it was. I think there's a sense of I feel like a lot of people had some higher expectations for it. I know, and I
Mm,
do admit that some parts were poorly written for the most part, but at the end of the day, it was a very, very enjoyable episode. I was laughing. I was not crying, but I was pretty sad from certain deaths. Um, some
true.
well deserved, not some not so deserved. Um, but overall, a great ending to a slow season, but enjoyable season. I think people didn't really enjoy the slow burn that this episode and the season had compared to the past seasons, which was very
Yeah.
go go go. But I like that it gave the time to breathe. The music, the haunting atmosphere, a lot of the cinematography looked really nice. I enjoyed it for what it was. It looks like Mike White wanted to do something slightly more mature than he's done before. Little less laughs, more drama, and yeah, I really appreciated it. What about you, Zach?
Oh man, I like the finale, and then made me wish that the season was like one episode shorter because there were so many points in the season where like a character like Tim Ratcliffe, like the dad, stuff would
Yep.
happen with him. Like there'd be like character developments. Like there's a callback from North Carolina about like investigation. They get the phone back, and then his character just plateaus for like 5 episodes straight until like the very end. And just has like the same visions over and over again, and we don't really see the poison fruit being taken until the end, even though that was tossed out to us as an idea in episode one. So I actually think, yeah, there's like a lot of good stuff that came together in the final episode. I just wish that that got going a little sooner, and that there's probably just like one less episode in the middle. Overall, I say I don't know how to compare it to season one. I would need to rewatch it. It's not as good as season two. Season two is like full tilt the whole way through, and all the actors really hit. So,
Yeah.
um, but I'll give Mike White kudos. Like he did a really good job in the finale, and I've met other people like I've had lunch with someone this week who like just hated the whole thing, even the finale. So I'm definitely like not on that train. So I want to give him credit there, at least with the finale.
I don't know what's up with me. This might be very controversial, but
That's
I
what
would
that's what we're
rank
here
this
for.
above season two. Yeah, I
Whoa,
rank this
whoa,
above season two.
okay,
Oh yeah,
okay,
I
hot
love
take.
season one. I love season one, especially for the hotel manager. I think
Yeah.
season one because it was so fresh and so new when it first came out. Season two kind of just felt more of the same to me. This season three really felt like something more unique, something that really evolved the franchise compared to season two. Season two, very much more of the same. But in season three, it feels like outside of like the hotel workers, everyone had quite a path. And whether the issues were small compared like with the three friends, the like Carrie Coon,
Yeah.
Michelle Moynihan, Leslie Bibb, like their dynamic, like just exploring that dynamic of their friendship and their tensions, like, them just like understanding their deeper truths and stuff. And Carrie Coon's monologue, shout out to her. She is an amazing, amazing actress. Watch her in Leftovers. I think Leftovers is still her like peak, but you could see her acting shining through, especially in that final scene. I was not relating to her at all, but
Yeah.
the way she acted actually did make me slightly tear up, even though not really going through that same thing in my own life or anything like that. So that's a credit to her and her acting. Um, and then seeing what was Michelle Monaghan's character's name? Jacqueline?
Jacqueline,
I
I
guess?
think.
Jacqueline? Yeah, like
Yeah.
Jacqueline, yes, she did some selfish things, but at the end of the day, they were still friends. And I really appreciated that. Then the Ratliff family. I do want to go back to you because you are from North Carolina. How does
Oh man.
this compare
Yeah.
to your typical North Carolina family?
I'm not sure they're typical in any way, but it was just funny because in the first episode, there's a lot of chatter about the accents, and Yeah, I definitely wasn't getting North Carolina family in the first episode. I was getting like maybe New Zealand or England or something like that. It wasn't until like the end of the first episode when they mentioned Duke and UNC that I realized, oh, they're talking about North Carolina and like the subsequent chatter. I think Parker Posey's character, the mom, is like a little bit closer to a North Carolina accent than the dad. The dad, like we know, is like Lucian Malfoy, so like it's hard to unsee that as like a British or again like Australian or New Zealand kind of accent. So he's trying. I'm not sure he totally delivered on that. But yeah, I will say also the blonde Bob, those three friends were definitely a season highlight for sure. And yo, lock me in for the Emmy predictions. Like I feel like Carrie Coons like just got her Emmy with that last
Yep,
scene.
yep. Also, I mean, I don't think he's gonna get any nomination or anything for Emmys, but Arnold Schwarzenegger's son, Patrick Schwarzenegger,
Yeah, Patrick. Yeah, he did
great
a great
job.
job.
You know,
Yeah.
everyone hated him in the beginning, and as you're going through, you're becoming a lot more sympathetic to him. Someone who, I guess, suffered from what was it called? Affluenza
Yeah.
is the best way
Yeah.
to put it. Like, because but I think he will come out stronger. Like, a lot of people were saying, like, "Oh, I wish we just saw a little bit more of what happened with them when they went back." I mean, it feels pretty clear. It feels like mom will probably divorce, dad will be going to prison. Older son will probably be fine because I think as long as he's not aware of any of the crimes that the company went through, and it probably existed there before he even joined the company, so he'll probably be fine. The son clearly is going to be fine. Like, and the daughter might be the one who goes through the most issues, it feels like. But
I think
no,
you're right.
what did you think of the whole blender fiasco?
I thought that was super duper interesting. There is a really fun online theory that so I think a lot of people predicted like the poisonous fruits and like they would drink it somehow from the blender. I think the season was kind of already egging us in that direction because Saxon was kind of teasing Lockie about, hey, have a shake. And then finally Lachlan has a shake and it's like with a lot of poison. So I think we're already heading in that direction. There's also a cool fan theory that there is a legal doctrine called fruit of the poison tree, and that legal doctrine says that if you obtain like evidence illegally, it's like fruit of the poison tree. You can't use it in court. So a lot of people are speculating, oh, Tim Radcliffe, the dad, is going to get a phone call, and they're going to be like, "Yo, you're good to go. You're safe. It's because of the fruit of the poison tree." And so that didn't quite happen in the show, but like that would have been an awesome way to like end like the whole story arc. Although I agree with you, I don't mind that they didn't show what happened. Like I feel like that's almost like a whole other episode or like a whole other season to explain the impact or the outcome of like Tim going to jail and like how the rest of the family copes. So I was totally okay leaving it like that. The person I had lunch with was like mad about that. Like he wanted to see the reaction and like see what happens next, but I was kind of okay leaving that because they're leaving the resort, and so like the fallout is like almost a storyline outside the resort, and so therefore it's like not really in the purview of White Lotus, I would say. But yeah, I like the poison tree concept, and I think they did a good job in the finale with it.
Yeah, if you want to watch what happens after, just watch Schitt's Creek. It's been done before.
Okay,
So
everyone is making that joke. Can you explain it? I haven't seen Schitt's Creek.
oh, Schitt's Creek is like exactly what the storyline goes by. Like
Mm.
they lose all their money, they move into like a motel,
Oh,
and like they live inside of a motel essentially. No, it's a fun show. I watched season 1 and 2. Very funny, very good, very heartwarming too for all things considered. Um what's it called? There was a lot of controversy about the which I didn't realize was about the blender being dirty and how
yeah.
he used it. And everyone was saying that's like a plot hole or like poor writing, but I'm thinking, dude, he's like a 16-year-old, 17-year-old or something like that. He knows
Yeah.
that his brother makes protein shakes. He probably just thought it was leftover protein powder. I mean, maybe I'm giving him too
Or
much credit.
the night before he wanted a pina colada, but his dad said no, and so when he's making the shake, it's like, oh yeah, I'm getting some pina colada. Like dad can't stop me, and I'll just add it to my shake, and like, well, I'll be totally fine. So I think it's
Yeah,
another
yeah,
way to
that could
like
be
to like
too.
to like
Yep.
rationalize it. Yeah, I didn't see it as a plot hole. I know some people did, but
Yeah. Yeah, it just felt like that's what teenagers do. But
right.
yeah, moving on from the Ratliff family to Rick and Chelsea.
Rick and
What was your
Chelsea.
reaction to their whole plot line?
Um, I think it was also leading us in that direction that Rick would kill like who we discover is his dad. I think what I didn't see coming was like how it kind of happened in the sense that like I think the show is telling us that like he and his dad are kind of the same person. Like his dad was also impulsive, so impulsive that he taunted his son so much that his son killed him. But that's something that like Drick would do. Like they're kind of like the same person. That's kind of like the point that I think Mike White was trying to get across. So I thought that was like a cool twist or like wrinkle in the story. I think a lot of people were predicting that like, oh, actually Kunjim is Rick's dad. I don't think they would predict that like Kunjim would actually seal his own fate by taunting Rick. So I
Yeah.
actually thought they
Yeah.
did that pretty well.
Not just taunting, but I think showing that they both have that same non-communicative behavior. Like they just
Yeah.
weren't able to ever properly explain like Rick wasn't ever able to properly explain things to Chelsea until he was really goaded out of him. Same thing with Rick's dad to their both of their detriments at the end of the day. Um, how did you feel? Spoilers, I guess, for most people. How did you feel about Chelsea's death?
Oh man.
Chelsea
That was
and
pretty
Rick's.
brutal. Yeah, yeah. So, like, I guess right before or in the morning, she told him, "Hey, we're going to be together forever. That's the plan." And then, yeah, I guess they were together forever. They died together forever. So, yeah, that was kind of a crazy ending. To someone who like had an interesting arc, because like I think there's part of the season where we're wondering, oh, would Chelsea leave Rick to get with Saxon or anything like that? But she never did that. So it's kind of hard to see the show take her out like that. But I think Mike White wanted it to be like a real Greek kind of tragedy storyline, and she was part of that.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It felt a little. I thought it was becoming a little too obvious where she was like, "Oh, bad things happen in threes," and then that
Hmm.
whole thing where they're talking about being together forever, the run in the beach. It felt so telegraphed to me that I felt like, "Oh no, no, no! It's become too obvious that they might die." But I think that kind of tricked me into thinking, "Oh no, no, they're not going to kill off Chelsea." So it actually
Right.
did kind of it came off as a surprise to me. Um, Going to their killer or Rick's killer at least. Uh, how do you feel about the whole bodyguard and what's the bodyguard and the famous singer
Mook. Yeah,
Mook?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I gotta check in on this. Mook is fascinating because I wonder if the Lisa fans out there feel like that Lisa got a good role, if she was like glamorous enough or got enough screen time. I think there's been some chatter like the fans weren't as happy. But yeah, Mook wanted one thing. She wanted like a certain kind of guy who's like willing to kill people and get promoted, I guess. So Mook got her way in the end. And I guess Sky Talk because all the other bodyguards were dead, got that promotion. So that is one way to get a promotion: just kill the other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like for guy talk, like, man, he's such a great guy, but man, he's so terrible at his job. And I honestly don't have much sympathy for him, even though, yeah, he's like, yeah, I want to be a good person. But dude, if you want to be a good person, you probably should have made a different decision way earlier in your career. For Mook, like I kind of get it at the end of it. Like for her, she's living in Thailand, which I mean, great country, but her eyes are looking upwards, right? And she's trying to find someone who has the characteristics that she thinks will help her to guide through and be as ambitious as she is. Like she's clearly ambitious in her own way, and she was looking for someone like that. And I feel like Gaita kind of stepped up for that, but because like at the end, if she wanted to be a like gold digger or something, she could have found those various old men throughout Thailand. She was clearly looking for a much different path. So I think for the fans of what's her name, Lisa.
Yeah,
So fans of her, I think she had an okay arc, but it's not like she was playing a terrible actress. I not terrible role. I think it's a role that makes a lot of sense the more you kind of think about it. Uh, who else are we missing? Belinda,
Belinda and
our
Zion.
first returning character since what's her name?
Tanya.
Tanya. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was interesting because that scene when Zion is like negotiating the $5 million buyout instead of $100,000, it felt like almost the show was like slipping into like Secession mode. We were talking like business deals, like it was like funny, it was like a little bit jarring and unexpected. And I love that twist where like Belinda runs out and then you're thinking, no, no, Belinda, like what are you doing? And then she's like, actually, this is part of the plan. Like I'm just playing a part. Like you go back and seal the deal. So I thought that was so cool. I was not expecting that small twist from Belinda. So yeah, Belinda definitely evolved. She became Tanya basically. Even before she got
Yeah.
the money, she was already starting to change. I think Zion was slowly changing her.
Especially the way she deserted Porn Chai.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I I feel like a lot of people are probably going to criticize Belinda too, but I like the realism they have in the show where anyone, if they were offered $5 million, if you're been eternally like middle class, who would not take that money? And why is she gonna be loyal to Tanya, who kind of screwed her over? And for her, it's like, oh yeah, this was what me and Tanya wanted to do. Now I'm gonna do it with her husband. So very, very cool, very surprising to see that from her, but very impressed too from what Belinda tried to do. Uh, the only thing I was like, hey, you have $5 million now, and Pornchai is pretty good at what he does. Why wouldn't you want him to join? Like, why?
Yeah,
What's going
exactly.
against that? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And it seemed like she was already learning a lot, so like why not just keep going? Yeah,
exactly.
I'm not sure. You are right though. I think the show does have like a tendency, like a motif to like always choose like the materialistic thing. We saw that with
Hmm.
Piper's character and the Ratcliffe family. Even Guy Talk to some extent. I was secretly hoping Guy Talk would like just renounce like his job and take the Buddhist path, but that wasn't quite in theme for the season. The season was all about um, thinking about the other option, the enlightened option, and then trying to choose it, but often missing and relapsing back to earthly ways.
It's okay. His partner, what's it called? Rick's partner, the one with the monologue. Why am I forgetting his name all of a
Oh, wait,
sudden?
Frank. Yeah, Sam Rockwell's
Frank.
character.
Sam Rockwell. Yep, there you go.
Yeah,
Sam Rockwell did enough. He went back to Buddhism, so it's okay.
yeah,
After
yeah,
his little
yeah.
hiccup. What
Right.
we should.
Yeah.
He was in his small role, like what, maybe 10 to 15 minutes in the entire season. He absolutely crushed it. Every like
Oh
from his
yeah.
little role, catching up to Rick at the elevator, every small and big things that he did an awesome job. Apparently, the role was supposed to be for Woody Harrelson, by the way.
I read that. Yeah, I think Woody Harrelson wanted more money, and then was like, I'm not gonna get that. I'm out."
I don't think it was it money? I thought it was he had like a family vacation or something.
There was that. So like that is what he says, but then also it's been reported that like he went up to actually, I think the CEO of like Time Warner to like try and get an exception on how the pay works.
Uh,
Have you heard the term like on scale? I think basically like all the actors and actresses got paid kind of the same for this
mhm.
show, and Woody Harrelson like wanted an exception. He wanted to like get more money, and so he went to the execs at HBO slash like Time Warner, and they
Oh
didn't say
wow,
yes.
David
So
Zaslav.
David, I think he went to David
Yeah,
Zaslav and asked him like, hey, like can you make an exception for me? And the reason like no, we can't do that. And I know he said there was like a family vacation, but that might just be him just trying to like paper over it.
save face a little bit.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That could totally see that. And yeah, I feel like he would be one of the top billing actors for sure on the show. Outside of maybe Michelle Moynihan.
Yeah, and like I think he was also going for Walter Goggins' role for like the role
Yep,
as Rick.
yep.
That would play into this idea of like, oh yeah, there's like a
Oh,
bunch
it
of
was
bald
for
white
Rick.
men. Yeah, yeah. I feel like I read both. I think maybe
I thought
he
it
was
was Sam
being
Rockwell's
considered.
character.
I think maybe he's being considered for both, but I think like the first cut or like first like time they're going through it, he was going to go for Rick's character, which would
Yeah.
have been cool. I think actually he would have been really good Rick.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that would be very interesting. Though the thing is, The fact that he went to David Zaslav, that's the guy who, like, cut movies just for tax write-off purposes. He's not gonna give you more money.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, good
man.
try, Woody.
Okay, outside of that, do you have any parting thoughts and a final rating?
Oh man. Rating like out of 10 or out of 5? What's the scale?
We could do 10.
Okay. Well, I'll just say as a side note, like this is now like a huge juggernaut for HBO. Apparently, the ratings for White Lotus are like approaching like Game of Thrones numbers. So
Wow.
that's just cool to see and like fun to watch a show and then be able to talk to almost anybody about it. Like I was at
Mhm.
work, I was having a conversation with a friend about it. Next to us, someone was like watching on their iPhone, like the finale. So this is like a huge like culture phenomenon at this point. So um, that is like almost like an extra bonus point in my head. Had to give it a rating number, maybe like a for this whole season, 8.5, 8.6. I feel like
Yeah.
for me, season two is like a 9.5. It's like almost perfect. Um, so like maybe we could talk more about this, but I thought season two, like for me, it was more like philosophical, dealing with these more core ideas about like men and women and love and like and vacation and whatnot. And then this season leaned more into like the uncut gems part of like White Lotus, where there's like a little more thrill, it's more about tension and like identity. Um yeah, it was still pretty good. I just feel like a lot of the characters kind of flatline in the middle of the show. Um yeah. What's your rating?
Wow, okay. You know what's funny? I will give this an 8 out of 10,
Okay. And that's
but
still higher
I
than season
give
two. Holy cow.
season 2, like, maybe a 7 out of 10,
Oh my gosh. Okay. Dang.
and then I give season 1 a 9, if that makes sense,
Okay.
yeah. I don't I feel like season 2 was very forgettable for me. I don't know why. Maybe I need to go and rewatch it after I watch season 3 now. Um, it just felt more of the same to me with season 1, while season 3 was such a large departure. I appreciated that. And then season 1 was like the original, so that
Yeah.
always felt pretty good. But yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10. I did hear, yeah, the reviews for this, I know the ratings for this was amazing. And I think HBO always nails it. One, with their shows, and two, with how they market and align their windows of their shows. So, they just finished up White Lotus. Now they're going into Last of Us as their next big show, and making it
Mm.
weekly over like 8 weeks. Letting people talk during in like the water cooler talk, right? So I went into work today. We talked about White Lotus. I didn't have to worry about where X, Y, and Z was in White Lotus because the finale came out a few days ago. Like whether you're binging it or you're watching it all together, like binging, I feel like really halts that and like limits a lot of shows to like get to that peak because of like how because you're just unsure of where people are in an episode and in a season and everything. So speaking of weekly episodes that just ended, do
Mm.
you have another show you want to talk about?
We never did a Severance episode. We got to talk about Severance.
Absolutely. Uh, so, Zach, what did you think of this season of Severance? Any reactions? As good as season one? Strengths, weaknesses?
I'm going to say season one's a little better. So, season one just felt like the perfect sci fi season. You're like exploring the world. There's like a central like struggle. They're trying to figure out what's going on here. There's like little touches in the first season that I forgot about it and then remembered when I rewatched. Like for example, they play this like really cool like acoustic version of Enter Sandman at Mark's friend's funeral, the one that went through reintegration.
Hmm.
And so like if you're at season one, like there's all like small little like extra touches on it that like watching again, I'm like, wow, this is actually kind of nice. It's like pretty focused, but they're also having a good time along the way. So yeah, season one for me is like on a pedestal of like awesome sci-fi season ones, along with like Westworld, and I haven't probably seen enough sci-fi to say otherwise, but for me, those two, Westworld and Severance, are like pretty high up there for sci-fi season ones. Season two is hard for like a sci-fi show because now you have like a idea, and then now you have to try to like bring it all back together like for a conflict and explain things. But then how much do you want to explain? Do you explain a lot? Do you explain a little to keep it mysterious? I think is always tough. So this season, like I think it's something struggled with that question. Like for example, reintegration. It's like we thought that like Mark was going to like be reintegrated at the end of one episode, and then next episode it was almost as if reintegration didn't happen, and then even by the end, the two Marks are talking to each other, which I'm glad that that happened because actually the last episode is pretty good. I thought the finale was like pretty solid, like for last episode. There were some scenes where like I was like kind of like whatever, I didn't understand like the good scenes, etc. And then also coming out of the finale, I didn't like the last 10 seconds. I felt it kind of felt too much like a cliffhanger, like oh when he like leaves
Uh,
Gemma and
yeah.
then runs in the hallway with Helly. I was like, oh no, like why'd you do that? Like I wish he didn't show me that. I wish he just left it as like him trying to choose between the two. Like that would have been a better place to cut it for me. Him making the choice, like for some reason, doesn't quite feel as satisfying. I think because it feels intuitively like the wrong decision. Although we can talk about if it's like the right or wrong thing to do. But yeah, like I thought it was good. It didn't quite have the marks, and I didn't like the last like 5 or 10 seconds. And most of my friends who spoke to also said that like they didn't really like the exact way it ended.
Yeah, I think I'm in almost full agreement with you. It took me a while to finish the season, even though it was coming out weekly. I think knowing that the finale was coming up, I kind of forced myself to watch a few of the middle episodes.
Yeah,
Um, I think the first three to four episodes was very go go go. Like something new or crazy was happening every episode, and it just wasn't letting you have time to breathe. And yeah, same thing with the goats. You know, there's a lot of filler episodes. It felt like they could have cut out or just showed us more like what White Lotus did to one extreme with like too much foreshadowing, too much exposure. I feel like this season of Severance did the opposite. With it was just plot point after plot point after plot point. Like we need to give some time for it to breathe and let us like really explore and analyze what you guys are doing.
yeah,
So yeah, that's my biggest complaint with the season. The middle episodes were also a little quality wise wasn't that great, but the beginning and the final few episodes knocked it out of the park. And yeah, I don't think you can ever hit that peak of season one Severance just for how amazing it really truly was. But it did it justice, and I'm still
yeah,
looking forward to what's going to happen in the future. Do you want to go into
yeah.
some plot points? I'm here. Yeah,
Yes. Oh, cool. Can you? Are you still here? Okay,
yeah,
cool, cool.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, so like I think there's like different characters that they come in and out. One thing that's interesting about this season is that not everyone makes it to the finale. Like Irving, like he doesn't make it to, like to the very last episode, and so I think like the story there is like it's not clear if John Turturro will actually wants to do another season, so they kind of cut him out early. Miss Wong also doesn't make it to like the final episode, so I thought it was kind of interesting. Like I was kind of hoping everyone would make it to the final episode so we could all have a proper send off. But I guess the show didn't quite do that, so I thought that was a little bit strange. One like actor I really like is the person who portrays Mr. Milchek. So I think that's been like kind of satisfying to see him kind of his character grow and evolve over the course of the season. Him starting to like silently push back and realize what Lumen is and seeing like the problems of like that relationship. And even though he like kind of got what he wanted to be the boss, he's seeing that like he doesn't really get the recognition he deserves and like the trust that maybe like Miss Cobell got in that same position. And then we got like a awesome classic like Mr. Milkshake dance at the dance scene at the last episode, so that made me pretty happy. So yeah, I thought that was also pretty interesting. Um, how did you feel about the Dylan storyline? Like Dylan and like his Audie's wife, like how that hit?
Yeah, that I really like how they're trying to explore. Hey, they're the same person, but they're also not, and they're
Yeah,
exploring these ethical questions. Like, are you if you were to have a relationship with the innie and the outie, is that considered unethical? And so, like we already talk about work life balance here, but also going into this, it's a very, very interesting way to approach it. I think for Dylan, like him trying the it had a very unexpected ending. I didn't expect it to be so positive, and especially from Dylan's Audi. The letter that he gave, the response to the resignation that he gave to Dylan, like was very heartwarming, and I think it's gonna really push Dylan in the following season to have that confidence to be who he is, because I think he was very disheartened from seeing what Dylan is on the outside, and now he realizes, hey, to myself, my outer self, I'm considered a badass. So very wholesome for him, very nice, and I think that's what gave him the strength to help out Helly through in that end of the episode, and hopefully in the next season to come. Uh, I really the same way we see Mark, outer Mark, trying to doesn't really pay attention to inner Mark's needs. Clearly, he's being very, I mean, which is justified because you're trying to get your wife out, but for Mark, he never sees his innie as a true equal. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
this Dylan, outer Dylan, sees him as not just an equal, but also a very positive version of what he wants to be himself. So it's a nice little contrast to see the difference in relationship with the Audi and innies with Dylan and Mark. Uh, Also, quick side note with Milk Milkchank. Why don't I know how to
Mr.
say
Milchek.
his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love when he gave Dylan the response letter for his resignation and just sprinted out
Yeah.
of the room. I'll look at my thumbs now. But yeah, that was very
Yeah.
funny to see. And I love the little details because he needs to make it on time for his uh for his show, that his performance that he was
Right.
gonna do for Mark and Helly. But yeah.
I love the letter that Dylan's Audi wrote to his innie, and like you said, it's so different from how Mark um, treats his innie. Like Mark treats his innie as like, oh yeah, like we're friends, but actually, I really control you. But I think Dylan's Audi is like, I hate you, but I also respect you, and like I think it's like basically the opposite of relationship. And then also there's other comparisons you can make, like Mark's Audi is kind of like actually Helena. Like they just don't treat the innies with like that much respect or see them quite as like full people. So there's a lot of cool comparisons to make throughout the season that aren't super obvious when you're watching the show or like in the moment.
Yeah. I heard by the way, I heard about the rumors about John Turturro possibly leaving, and so
Hmm.
they're keeping it vague, but it does feel like his outer version, speaking of outer versions, right? I feel like his outer version knows something or is plotting something.
We never got really a good explanation of who he's talking to on the phone or what
Yeah.
exactly he was searching for. Yeah, that was never quite explained. We also don't get explanation on his history of Lumen because I forget the exact details, but I think we know he's been there. I think even before Severance existed. So there's some theories that maybe he used to like run the floor, and then to silence him, Lumen severed him. So there's a lot of theories, but like the show hasn't really confirmed or denied anything yet. So that could be
Mm,
a good reason to maybe bring him back for like one episode and just like properly end his storyline. I feel it feels a
right,
little
right, right.
abrupt, like the way they ended it in this season. So hopefully they can at least get him back for one more episode.
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely see that. I don't even think he's just gonna be one episode. I think he'll. My prediction is he'll probably be a
Oh,
series
interesting.
regular next
Hmm.
season. Maybe not every episode, but maybe like at least at least half. I hope to see him. Uh,
Hope
how'd
so.
you
He's a
feel
great,
about?
great actor.
Yes, yeah, yeah. You can't go wrong with him. How do you feel about Coble's backstory and how she created uh, Severance essentially?
Thought that was interesting. Yeah. It's like a short episode. So like I think there's been some debate online. Could you have like cut it into previous episodes instead of making it one standalone? Um Patricia Arquette's like a really good actress. So like I can't really hate like her getting an episode and also her character. So yeah, I thought it was super interesting. It was interesting to hear more about like what Lumen has done to communities. Like it seems like there's like a rust belt like in this like version of America that like Severance inhabits. And then learning more about Ether. So it seems like ether was used as like an early form of severance by Lumen, and ether has like some properties that make people forget things, and so it kind of ties into some really interesting themes that Severance plays around with. So I like that episode. I don't think everyone did, but I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think it's one of the lowest ranked episodes
Yeah,
on IMDb, but which is understandable because it's fairly slower than the rest of the episodes, and also you don't really care much about Koval, to be honest.
yeah.
Most people don't. Do you think Koval's gonna be like an antagonist or an ally next season?
That's a good question. It seems like the show is leading towards a third or fourth season where like Mr. Melchek and Miss Cabell and everyone kind of like allies together to take down Lumen. So maybe that's season three.
Mhm.
I think she will be never like purely good, but maybe like eventually goes against Lumen, like whatever that means. So I think that's what will happen. That's what the show's leading
Yeah.
us towards, unless there's like some twist or something.
Which, knowing Ben Stiller, there definitely will be.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't even want to like put my name behind that prediction because there's gonna be some twist or something else like that. I just know.
Zach predicts that Koval will be the protagonist in season 3. Mark it down, guys. um, how did you feel about the whole Helena being undercover as Helly throughout the beginning of the season?
Yeah, people online picked it up really quickly. Apparently, I didn't when I watched the first episode. It wasn't super obvious to me that it was Helena down there. Um, Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think there's a question of does Helena envy Helly for what she has in her relationship? So we don't learn a ton about Helena's backstory. There's some like evidence that maybe she's like alcoholic or like maybe she doesn't do a good job of living up to her dad's like high expectations. Because also like towards the end of the season, Jamie Egan is like, oh, actually, Helly, I think you have like the spirit of Egan, meaning that like maybe Helena doesn't. So, yeah, I think I would like a little more backstory on Helena. Maybe we get that in season three. I thought it was an interesting wrinkle. It was an interesting twist because we didn't realize that was possible. You could like go incognito into the separate floor.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess as a like the heir to the throne, I guess you have a little bit of leeway to do what you want. Um, so yeah, that was actually very surprising to me as well. I think I did catch a little bit because she was acting so distant from the rest of the people, and especially
Hmm.
John Turturro like goading her and like really trying to find out who she is. I think really nailed it. That, oh no, she's not Helly, the Helly that we know. But I think there is genuine affection she has towards Mark now, especially when she saw Outer Mark. I think Helly, the way or the character, the actress, the way she is able to, very complex way to say it, but playing Helly, but as Helena in disguise, and then being Helena, and then being Helly,
Yeah,
like the micro acting she does. I don't know if that's the right term for it, but the minute ways in which she alters herself to show herself in these three different personalities is very commendable. And just that's just showing that struggle with her and her Innie's identity was very, very cool to see. But yeah.
yeah. I want to learn or I want to know how they coach Mark and Helly's actors and actresses to like here's how you play any version of you. Here's how you play the Audi version of you. Because there's definitely subtle differences, but like I feel like it's hard to like describe in words what those differences are. So I'm curious how the actors like approach that. On a different note, one question I wanted to ask you is I don't think I cared about this, but I feel like I met other people who did. Do you care about like the plot holes about like why isn't there more security at Lumen? Like why can't like how are they able to like scheme all this without anyone noticing? How are like the innies able to like function in the outside world and not get freaked out? Because like have they even seen snow before and stuff like that? Did you care about any of those things, or do you feel like actually that's not the point of the show to like get really wrapped up in those like logical plot holes or whatever?
The security part, not so much, mostly
Yeah,
because of how we've seen this company is not just a regular company, they're a cult with it as a company. So I think one, there's a sense of arrogance they probably have, self confidence they have, that they don't need to oversee everything at all the time, even though they do for most things. It does feel like, but yeah, I think it's also probably part of their experimentation. They want to see how much the innies interact outside. It's probably a social experiment for them too, to see what they're doing outside
Yeah.
of what the innies think is there when they're out of surveillance. I think they might still be in surveillance, they just don't know it. Uh, yeah, I mean, in terms of plot holes, when you're making something so complex, I
Yeah.
do give it a lot of leeway. As long as it doesn't break some large canon somewhere else, it's fine, and most likely they'll probably explain it in the future why something's going some way or why isn't it. But I think a lot of the responses to those criticism, I'd say, is just it's Lumen. They're just not your typical company. This is not your typical world. It's not America as we know it. It's clearly something different that's been built over time. About the Audi and the innies going into the outside world, I think they kind of did show it because they weren't like, "Oh, look up, look up! I didn't know the sky is like infinite, or
Hmm.
the roof is infinite." So they do
Hmm.
kind of hint at it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Especially, I think it came
Mhm.
from Dylan, who's the appropriate character to kind of have those reactions.
Yeah.
And I mean, also, second thing, they were outside before when they did the whole end of season one. They know what it looks like, so it's not
Yeah.
brand new to
Good
them.
point.
Yeah, they've
Yeah.
never seen
Yeah.
snow before, but like they have been outside before. So yeah, I think plot hole wise, that's not that big of a deal to me. You?
Fair. No, I'm on the same page. I can see like how someone would think that. Like I can follow their line of thought. But I don't really penalize the show for it.
Hmm, hmm. All right. I guess I got. Do you have a final thoughts and rating for this season?
Oh man, rating is hard. This time you go first. What's your rating?
Ooh. Well, not as good as season one, which I give a
Yeah.
9 out of 10.
Yeah.
I'll probably give this an 8. Uh, it still knocked it out of the park in a lot of different ways, but the middle was so meandering that you had to drop a couple points for it. I did like the ending. I forgot to mention. Uh, I also agree they should have made it like a cliffhanger where he has to decide between the two.
Yeah.
But I think season 1 they want to hit the ground running the same way they did with season 2. Season 3 they want to keep the ground running the way they did for season 2. So I think we're just going to see where it continues off. Do you think Oh, we forgot to mention. So for the ending, what did you think of Mark, choosing to stay?
Yeah, yeah. I disagree with you totally. They should have ended as like a choice between the two. I was like a little bit annoyed. It's like, wait, you're going back? Like, what are you expecting to happen if you go back to Lumen? Like, like, what exactly was supposed to happen? Because at least if you leave, then maybe you could go to like the birthing cabins and hang out or something like that. So that felt a little jarring. And also like I hope Gemma's like can get out of the Lumen building, but maybe not.
Yeah, how in the
so
world are they supposed to
yeah.
get out? I That
Yeah.
was very. Yeah, Gemma's gonna be outside. They clearly know she's outside now, and clearly they're gonna try to want to keep her inside. They've already faked a car accident to get kidnap her. So I don't know. I genuinely don't know what Mark was thinking. But again, Mark is only 3 years old, so we had 17-year-olds not cleaning out their protein blenders. What do you think a 3-year-old is gonna do?
Yeah, and like I will say if season 3 can like effectively resolve and handle these questions, then that will make that season like even better when it does
Hmm,
come out. Um but yeah, I think that's why for me the season I'd probably give it like an 8.2 or so, 8.3.
hmm. Yeah, so around the
Definitely like
same. Yeah.
a step down from season 1, but like, season 2s are tough and like this still has a lot of good things going for it, so.
Yeah, I think it still is carrying the momentum and is showing that Severance is not just a one season wonder. They clearly have a lot of good ideas for how to explore it in the future.
All right. Up next, what do we have?
Great question. Oh, uh, Studio Ghibli
Oh
has
yeah,
made the news. Yes. I don't know if you've tried it, but
I just tried
if
it.
you
This is
did?
actually the
Okay.
first time on ChatGPT in like half a year, so it's working.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, just a background if anyone has been living under a rock, but millions and millions of people have used ChatGPT to generate these Studio Ghibli portraits of themselves. So, my question to you, is this a creative tribute or is this disrespectful?
Oh man, you're asking a really good question. So like I think Miyazaki, the person who ran Studio Ghibli, I think he like has made negative statements towards AI. Like he really didn't like AI. So in
He
that
calls it
sense,
an affront to humanity.
pretty strong statement. um, because I think Studio Ghibli would spend so much work making every single frame in the movies. It wasn't like they took like one image and then used AI to animate the rest, or like they didn't really use computers like the way that Pixar uses computers. And the cool thing is like that's why Studio Ghibli movies are so iconic, is because they put in all that craft into the characters, into the storyline, and that wasn't just a bunch of like AI slop or whatever. So like, yeah, it's tough because also I get a lot of delight from like seeing all the creations that people make with the Studio Ghibli style filter. And it's just like some of them are just like funny and amusing to see like random memes be shown in Studio Ghibli style. So um yeah, I think this poses a lot of questions, and I'm not exactly sure how to feel about it. I think the best we can do is hear out both sides and still enjoy the future, but also hear what Miyazaki had to say.
Yeah, I am in the mindset that having the tool to do this is completely fine as long as it's not monetized.
Yeah,
Because clearly ChatGPT got this from somewhere. And I don't know if they've had a contract with Studio Ghibli to use their likenesses. I'm guessing not, but it's not
yeah,
on it's the same way like hey, like how a calculator was created, right? AI is a tool that we use to create things and it's up to the user. I think it falls on the user on how they share and monetize it. If they try to monetize it, I think Studio Ghibli has good because if you think about it, right, ChatGPT is where we created it from. Outside of advertising and everything, right? Clearly, this is going to hit their GPUs and it's going to increase their costs. But I'm doing it for free. You're doing it for free. And
yeah.
then we're posting it on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, et cetera, et cetera. Um, who's benefiting from that? Not ChatGPT. I guess, yeah, you're getting a couple more users, but most of them are doing that for free. But people are going on Blue Sky, people are going on Twitter, people are going on, Facebook and Instagram and stuff to look at these, and that's where the revenue is coming from. So it's a very interesting question. I think whoever is using it clearly has a love for Miyazaki, although I don't know if you saw the Trump post about it too, which was kind of messed up, but we can not talk about that. But
That's a
but
very evil and bad social media account.
yep, yep, yep. Uh, I will give you a question. Do you think AI generated art can ever have any emotional depth?
Well, I think it has a parallel with video games. Like, I think Roger Ebert, the really famous movie critic, was critical of the idea of video games being art. I think he had an essay that was basically like, oh, like because of the way that like you can like interact and like control like what happens, like this stuff isn't really art. But then video games do have like elements of art, and they do have elements of movies, even though we don't really call them movies. And I would say a
Yeah,
lot of
half
like
my
really
recommendations
oh
are
yeah,
games
exactly.
usually.
Yeah, yeah, and like yeah, I think a lot of what games do like do veer into like the art world, and like there's a lot of beauty in like how video games can be set. So yeah, I think AI could potentially veer in that direction. Um, what how did you phrase your question again? Could you say it again?
Um, what was I saying? Can AI art ever carry like emotional
Right.
depth? Yeah.
Right. Well, a lot of what is created definitely does not. So
Yeah.
I will say that it's not like quotation marks real arts where you're getting like after many iterations and a lot of work in the studio a final product with meaning. AI arts you can make it in like 5 seconds, and like a lot of it is just kind of like whatever. So or looks just kind of like it has like an AI art kind of style and feel to it. So I'm sure you can, but I will say a lot of what I see from AI art is not like super thoughtful or weighty or
Hmm.
heavy,
Hmm.
which is like often the case with stuff you see on the internet. So,
Yeah. No, I think I'm in full agreement with you. I think it again. It's for me. I just consider it a tool, as I mentioned before. If you use it for one or two things, it really becomes down to that question of like, if you replace every single piece of this boat with something else, is it still considered the original boat?
hmm,
I forgot what Theseus's ship, right?
I
Something
think
like that.
so.
But yeah, here it's like, okay, if I use AI for the script, if I use AI for the art, if I use AI for the emotions, is this film made by me or is this made by ChatGPT? Um, the question is going to come sooner or later, but in my head, I think it's more the AI than the user, depending on how much of it's been used, and that's going to be a huge ethical question for us in the future.
Well, we spoke about it, I think, in last episode or 2 episodes ago. Flow, which like won the Oscar for best animated film, was made on Blender for like $1.5 million. So you can kind of see that maybe like there are people out there making a movie that could like be successful at award shows or the box office that maybe heavily uses these AI tools. And so I'm really curious about that if like the AI version of Flow is being made right now as we speak or is like coming soon. So that's what I would keep an eye on.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I think not many years ago, people who were painting like on paper scoffed at people who use their iPads to draw.
Right.
So it's there's always going to be purists, and same thing with AI, same thing with art. I think we just got to figure it out as technology improves.
It'd be so cool to be like at Disney right now or at Pixar right now and to see what they're thinking about. If they're like peeling away the top animators and putting them in their own team or their own room, and be like, hey, like forget the old tools, just use Blender and like the AI tools and see if you can create like a new movie just using these tools and see what happens. And I'm curious what they come up with. I'm sure they're at least experimenting with it.
Yep, I think we'll truly see this in like three years. What
Yeah, I think that's a
happens?
good prediction. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and then I looked it up. Apparently, Hayao Miyazaki is like making another movie. There aren't many details yet, but hype is increasing. Not everyone has Miyazaki on
Wow.
mind. I think I'd go and like feel almost obligated to watch the new movie after making all these like AI generated images.
Oh man, yep, yep. All right. Speaking of movies, future movies coming out,
Hmm.
movie theaters are trying to make a baseline of 45 days of a release theatrical window before it can go to on demand, uh, either on demand or streaming, Blu-ray, et cetera, et cetera. How do you feel regarding that?
I think I support it. Yeah, I think as Mickey 17, I think went streaming like pretty quickly. And by streaming, I mean you could like buy it like off streaming, like within like 2-3 weeks, because it wasn't like as strong of a box office as predicted.
Yeah.
Um, that said, like I think for a lot of these movies, like Mickey 17, like it's better if you see it in the theater. Like I think it definitely probably you enjoy it better and just focus better if you see it in that setting than seeing it at home. And also, yeah, like I don't want movie theaters to like totally go away, even though a lot of movies I do see are at home. So I'm supportive of this, generally speaking. I'm trying to think of a scenario where like I wouldn't be. I think I will say the tougher part is like if you have kids, going to the theater is like a lot of money. So I guess like your kid sees that the new Minecraft movie's out, and then going maybe kind of onerous in terms of time and money. So I can see how it's better for parents if like the movies come quicker, but even then, like I assume like you could wait until it comes out on streaming. So I think that's like maybe like one like edge case or like the one good argument against doing this, but otherwise, I'm totally down to help support the movie theaters.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that too. Like for kids, if you're a family of four, that's $100 trip right there to go to the
Yeah.
movies when you could just be at home and watch a streaming thing. It feels like movies have become more, if you're not in a tentpole event, and even if you are, like Captain America, Brave New World, like you need to have a pull to make it a hit at this point. Like Minecraft is one of the first hits we've had this year. Um, so you're probably pretty happy about that.
I am.
But yeah. So what's this issue has caused is like you have so many mid-budget movies such as Mickey 17, um, s- and like what was the movie that I really liked last year? Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, the
Hitman or
Stuntman
not
movie,
Stuntman, excuse me. Yeah.
something with like something related to Stuntman. But there's so many movies that are just very good, decent movies that would be nice to experience in theaters that are just becoming outright flops nowadays because for people they've gotten so accustomed to, oh, it's gonna be at home for streaming in like 2 weeks, or why would they care? Why wouldn't they wait a couple more weeks and then save a ton of money? So I think 45 days is good and it'll allow people to enjoy the theaters again. But it's not going to happen right away. If they do implement this, it's going to take a long time for people to realize. But also, a part of me argues with myself and says it's not going to do much favor and might be even worse because nowadays everything is so now that I think after 45 days people might just lose interest. And the way streaming has, the quality of streaming, the quality of like streaming quality, movie theater quality, like if you have like an OLED TV and like a surround sound system, you're doing pretty well for yourself. And like you're like, oh,
It's a good
I
point.
invested so much in a movie theater, why am I going to go to the movie theater and watch this? So there's a lot of give and take. We'll see what happens. I actually, weird thing, I actually got a response from James Gunn when I said this, and he
Whoa,
did also
what?
say, yeah, yeah, fun, fun little drop right there. He said, yeah, your home theater might have gotten better, but IMAX has gotten better. The surround sound has
Okay.
gotten better. That experience has, for all intents and purposes, gotten much better than what we experienced 10 years ago. The issue is that like home theater technology 10 years ago was not as good as it was this now. So, and the
Hmm.
cost, I mean, we'll see what happens after tariffs, but the cost to get a very good TV is not that high as it used to be. So
Hmm.
we'll see what happens. I hope to God that movies do stay relevant. We did have an entire generation kind of grow up in this post-COVID world at this point. I think what we're at 5 years now,
That's
and
right.
they don't really have that same excitement to go to the theaters as we did. So you know, to be honest, I have no idea, but these are the thoughts that are going in my head regarding this.
That's a
Um,
really good point. You can have a really good home theater setup, and a lot of people upgraded their home theaters during the pandemic, and so it's not like you're watching it on a calculator. Like
yeah,
like home theaters can actually like have really good sound, really good image quality, and so that is paying homage. It is respecting the piece of art, the film.
as Nolan intended. But
Right.
all right. Do you want to go into what do we have? We have a few more things, but do you want to go into the box office and onto the draft results?
Yeah, sure. Should I do a draft update first? Or we can do box
Let
office. Or we
me
do
let me
box
just give
office,
you box
actually.
office
Yeah,
real quick.
yeah, because that will lead into draft numbers.
Yeah, whole lot of nothing from 5, 10 through 2. That
Okay.
includes the big flop that was Snow White. Um,
Mm,
Unfortunate. No one wanted this, but it is what it
mm.
is. But for week one, in its debut, the Minecraft movie makes $163 million domestic only,
Woo!
$313 million worldwide.
A
This is on its way to, if not, will surpass $1 billion. And with that, I will go into Zach with the draft results so far.
Yeah, so a couple episodes ago, we had a movie draft, me,
Uh oh,
Zahran, and D-Pro.
guys, looks like
So far,
Zach got so
only
excited.
I.
Oh, you froze for a second, or I froze for a second. Someone did, but you're back now.
Oh yeah, no worries, all good. Yeah, so we had a movie draft a couple episodes ago, and then I've had actually a couple movies come through, and so I've accumulated a bunch of points. Um, so the really big winner so far has been Minecraft, and it's only been the first weekend. But yeah, it had a budget according to Wikipedia of 150 million. The global box office 316 million or 336 according to one source. Um, Rotten Tomatoes is only 48%, so that kind of really reduces like how many points like it gets in our drafts. Letterboxd at 2.8 of 5. That's like okay. But then guess what the cinema score was for Minecraft?
What was it?
B plus. Not bad.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it was actually better than a lot of other movies. So
Yep.
yeah, overall, that's like already my top movie of the year. And then this upcoming week, we have Warfare coming out. That's a new Alex Garland movie. That already has a 93% Rotten Tomatoes, so it's looking pretty promising. It has like a large budget for an A24 movie at 50 million, but hopefully, like all the movie nerds will go watch it. I'm watching it probably on Friday, so I'm really excited for that. Um, and then yeah, Mickey 17 has made $127 million globally on a $118 million budget. So that's earned me a couple points here. And then A Working Man um, hasn't done bad. It's made 66 million off of a $40 million budget, but then its Rotten Tomatoes is only 51%. Letterbox is only 2.5. So it hasn't really given me as many points. But yeah,
Hmm,
Minecraft has
hmm.
been like the real big winner here. Just
You,
it's
you
just
needed
it
one.
does so well globally. Yeah,
Yeah, you definitely needed one because, and
right.
you got a hit. And I think this will be close. This is essentially going to be, I feel like, close to your first round pick. Seems like.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a steal for like that stage of the draft. It was
Yeah.
my second to last, or yes, yeah, it was actually my second to last movie. My last movie was Tron, which I think had a trailer come out. Is that true? Is that the case?
Great segue, Zach.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. And it looks like Nine Inch Nails will be doing the soundtrack for this.
What?
Yeah. Wait. Let me
Amazing.
double check that. Yep, Nine Inch
Nine Inch
Nails.
Nails.
Yes.
Oh,
So
cool.
very excited for that. If you don't know, ooh,
Nice.
did I
Okay,
lose
that's
you there?
interesting. So it is Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, but this is the first time they're making a movie soundtrack under their band's name, Nine Inch Nails. So I wonder if maybe
Oh,
it's going to be like
Zach,
more
you're.
like
Am I
rock
cutting off or are
music
you
as
cutting
opposed to
off?
just like experimental music, experimental like classical music or whatever. So
Wait, Zach, you. I don't know if I cut off or you cut off for the past like 10 seconds.
I noticed you freeze a little bit. So yeah, I wonder what
Ooh,
the final result looks like.
uh-oh. Hope it
We
isn't
can
our
edit
new
it.
internet. Yeah, yeah. But if you wanna explain what you said again, just so I have it and then I can edit it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, so like, I was just looking it up. So Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross have like done a lot of, not a lot, but like a handful of movie soundtracks, like Social Network and I think Challengers last year. Um, so this is the first time they're making a movie soundtrack with the name Nine Inch Nails, which is their band name. So I wonder if it's going to be more like rock music or more like the band's genre as opposed to just experimental, almost like house kind of music. So this is interesting. I didn't know that. That's a good call out for Tron.
Yeah, the main reason why is because when I watched Tron Legacy, absolutely still love that movie to this day, but because it had Daft Punk as the composers, and they did an amazing job for, ooh, did I cut off for a second too?
Yeah, for like 5 seconds.
Alright, I'm gonna repeat it again. So, the reason why that came up for me is because for Tron Legacy, the movie that came out, I think in like 2009, 2010, something like that, um, Daft Punk actually composed it, and unfortunately, they retired now. So I was really wondering who would do the soundtrack for this one, the score. And the way they knocked it out of the park for that, I would say that is the best part of that movie. The action was okay, the graphics were good, the storyline was mediocre, but I always go back and watch that movie solely for the soundtrack. So the fact that they got Nine Inch Nails to come back for this, and I think it was kind of an homage for out of respect to maybe Daft Punk because Daft Punk composed it as their band name, so interesting to see that them do it here. It's a great um, follow up to Daft Punk, and I know they're gonna do respect to it. Hopefully, Jared Leto also lives up to it as well. I know he's a very controversial actor. He never really bothers me in a movie, but I can definitely see as a lead, I hope he isn't too bad of an actor now. But
Is he
yeah,
like the lead in the movie?
it sounds like it. Like he's the program, just plot summary or like trailer summary.
Oh,
He's a
he's Aries.
program. Yeah, he's Ares, and he's like a program coming to the outside world.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're totally right. For Tron Legacy, the biggest legacy of that movie is probably the soundtrack. I think that's what people know it for.
yes,
It hits
yep,
way above its weight having Daft Punk do the soundtrack. So I'm glad they didn't skimp on that part for this movie. Which, like, I
yeah.
think honestly, I was worried about that. It's just more like a cash grab than like a real homage to the Tron franchise. But if they're getting Nine Inch Nails, that means they're taking it seriously. So that's good.
You froze for a bit, but it's all good. I just stayed silent, so I was like, "Okay, it'll probably be
Hopefully it
uploaded."
records for both of us
Yeah,
when we
yeah.
freeze. Yeah, yeah. We'll see.
So, um, yeah, I think if it's the only other alternative I would have accepted for this was, M83, who did an amazing soundtrack
Oh.
for Oblivion quite some while ago, the Tom Cruise movie.
Oh
Also the
wow!
best part about
I
that
didn't
movie.
know they even made a. They did a movie soundtracks. That's so interesting.
Uh-oh, someone froze.
Okay, yeah. I'm curious what gets
I
recorded.
think
What
we
doesn't get
hit the
recorded?
yeah. I think we hit our highlights for this week, and we'll see what the technical difficulties are moving forward. And also, we hit an
Okay.
hour 10 right now, so I think this is a good
Yeah.
length for a podcast.
Yeah. I think
I'm
so
gonna cut
too.
edit these parts out too, by the way.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. This is pretty good. Should we just cut? Should we go ahead and go to weekly recommendations?
and you're frozen. But yeah,
Oh man.
now that you
Okay.
guys had a
This is
little
like
bit
dying.
of
Okay.
yeah, so now that you guys had a little bit of recap, welcome back, Zach. You want to sign us off?
Yeah. Do you want to do weekly recommendations or you're good to go?
Oh yes, yes, yes. Weekly recommendations.
Yeah. It
Hopefully
seems
this
like you had
works.
one. All right. Before we sign off,
Oh,
weekly recommendations. Zerani, you want to kick us off?
I actually do not have a weekly
Oh.
recommendation off the top of my head.
Oh. You're talking about past ones. We were talking about video games.
Right, right, right. I mean, if we
Okay.
want
Okay.
to go down that theme again, I have been playing Cyberpunk for the first time. Put it off for like 5 years when it came out in 2020.
Oh, wait. What, on
Made
which platform?
on Xbox Series X.
Okay.
Very interesting. I'm an Xbox guy because I also have a PC, so you can share games between Xbox and PC. So, but yeah, so I'm playing it on my Xbox, loving the story, hitting a little too close to home because I feel like that's going to become a reality. But you know, hope for the best, guys. I will tell you guys about that story recap probably in the future once I'm finished with the game. But overall, very very promising with how it starts. There was a lot of technical issues with this when it first came out in like 2020, and I love their game, so I didn't want to go into it until it was fully completed. And now it looks like it's been fully completed, and a lot of people have been, saying it's one of the best um, recoveries by a game developer studio for an otherwise broken game on launch. So very nice to see. We'll have better thoughts in the future. So yeah, that's my weekly recommendation. Zach, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the end of the NBA season has been super interesting. We don't have time to get into it fully, but I've been talking to friends about the Nuggets like coach getting fired. Was that a good or bad choice? Will the Warriors make it in? What seed will the Lakers have it? So definitely keep your eye on that. If you're not already tuned in to NBA, let's check out the end of the season and then head into the playoffs.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, me as a Lakers fan, we've been spoiled for way too many years, and to get Luca back, actually today, well, at the time of recording this, I think is Lakers versus Mavs today with the return of Luca to
Oh,
Dallas.
wow. I did not know that. Thank you for calling that out.
Looks like we know what we're both watching right now, but
Yeah, yeah, halftime. Okay, Lakers by 3. Let's see what happens.
nice, awesome. Okay, nice to see. But Zach, you want to sign us off after our recommendations?
Yeah, please like and subscribe if you've gotten this far and check out some of the shorts. We have an awesome editor helping us out, so definitely like and subscribe there. And also we're on Instagram, so check us out on Instagram. I'll post a link on the YouTube video.